Hot news: politicians mark King holiday with appeals to black voters and commemoration of the civil. Democratic presidential aspirants fanned out across the country Monday to praise the legacy of the revelation. Martin Luther King, former Vice President Joe Biden and former New York Mayor Michael Bloomberg called for more racial justice and poverty reduction Monday. Two other potential. After the service, Sanders said King wanted a nation that works for all of us, black and white and Latino, to make sure all people have decent wages. Remember where he died, Sanders continued. He died in Memphis. The outreach came on a day suffused with political commemorations. Senior President Trump and Vice President Pence briefly visited the King Memorial in Washington, D.C., for a wreath laying near the carved statue of the slain civil rights leader. Good morning, everybody. Great day. Before the mostly black audience at the National Action Network event in Washington, both Biden and Bloomberg admitted to mistakes in their past records and laid out different policy focuses that would play a central role in their campaigns. We have a lot to root out, most of all systematic racism that most of us whites don't even like to acknowledge even exists, Biden said. It's been built into. Bloomberg echoed the call, talking about his recent visit to Tulsa to commemorate the 1921 race riot that historians say killed more than 100 African Americans. We need to face up. Neither Biden nor Bloomberg gave any hints of their decision to mount campaigns, though they both offered jokes about the possibility. Biden kidded, "I wanted to get some pointers from him on what it is like to live in Washington, D.C., Bloomberg said. The event was hosted by the Revelation. Al Sharpton, because the Trump administration has appeared so hostile, a lot of blacks are looking at who can win rather than just having a view on a set of issues that they might think are selectively important, Sharpton said about the coming campaign in an interview with the Washington Post. It's going to be a. Biden was also direct in his criticism of Trump, saying that the president's decision to equate the behavior of white nationalists and counter-protesters at a 2017 rally in Charlottesville had allowed for ugly undercurrents of American history to re-emerge. We learned from the last 2 years it doesn't take much to awaken hate, to bring folks out from under the rocks, Biden said. We have to speak out. Biden repeated his regret for supporting tough-on-crime measures in the 1990s, which he now admitted had worsened racial disparities. Biden's success. I haven't always been right, Biden said. I know we haven't. He spoke about focusing on bail reform, increasing the minimum wage and increasing federal funding for vocational training as ways of reducing racial inequities. Bloomberg said he could not argue that every decision I have made as mayor was perfect, though he did not specifically distance himself from the stop and frisk policing policy he supported over the objections of civil rights leaders like Sharpton. Instead, he talked about his efforts to improve schools in New York and reduce pollution in black and Hispanic neighborhoods. He also described, Dr. King is still our drum major for justice, Bloomberg said. To truly celebrate. In a sprawling field, Bloomberg and Biden would find themselves competing for a similar slice of the Democratic electorate should they decide to run. But Bloomberg said, whatever the next year brings for Joe and me, I know that we will both keep our eyes on the real prize, and that is electing a Democrat to the White House in 2020, Bloomberg said. Annie Linsky reported from Columbia, SC.
Raindrop, drop top, top smoking, no cooking the hot pot. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that. Looking up, open the park.